Good morning, everyone. We will begin shortly. Good morning to our almost 200 viewers. We will begin in a few minutes. We can start now, please. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar this morning. My name is Wiway Bugnosen of ISA Incorporated, and I will be your moderator for today. I'd like to greet everyone who are joining us today as we live stream in Zoom, in the ISA YouTube channel, and through the Facebook pages of isa.org, Science Speaks, Know the Science, and the DA Biotech program. This morning's activity is the first webinar of a series co-organized by ISA Inc. and the DA Biotech Program Office of the Department of Agriculture in preparation for the celebration of the National Biotech Week next month. The webinar series aims to inform the general public and the journalists present today about the recent developments on GM crops that are commercialized and nearing commercialization in the Philippines. The event will also encourage the participants to engage in discussions related to biotech crops in the country and build up the involvement of the media in biotech reporting in preparation for the National Biotech Week celebration. Before we proceed, let us go through the house rules. Please be informed that all the participants' microphones will remain on mute during the presentations. All announcements from the organizers will be made by the moderator and/or posted in the chat box. You may post your questions using the Q&A function throughout the webinar. The questions will be recognized and addressed later during the open forum. Lastly, please accomplish the online webinar evaluation form to receive your certificate of appearance. The link to the evaluation form will be posted in the chat box before the webinar closes. And now for our opening remarks, I would like to introduce Dr. Claro Mingala, the Director of the DA Biotech Program Office. Dr. Mingala was the former Center Chief of the Livestock Biotech Center at the Philippine Carabao Center. He is also the chair of the technical working group for the drafting of the Joint Department Circular for Genetically Modified Animals and Animal Products, Rules and Regulations. We expect this to be signed within the year. His areas of expertise include biotechnology research in livestock genetics and breeding, health, nutrition, and product development. Please let us all welcome Dr. Claro Mingala. Sir Claro, you have the floor.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to give you the opening remarks of this seminar. Thank you very much for the ISA, headed by Dr. Aldemita, for spearheading again this very important seminar that would give us information and as well as update us about the products that we are developing in the Philippines, and of course with the help of our partners, uh, international partners as well. So the Department of Agriculture Biotechnology Program Office is always here to provide assistance as well as collaborative research partnership, bridging the industry and developers as well as the regulatory authorities with regards to the biotechnology products that we are developing, like the GM corn and golden rice as well. Thank you, and we hope that our partnership will be continuous and become fruitful even towards the development as well of animal biotech products. Thank you again, and good morning to everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mingala, for your inspiring message. Now, to give the first talk for this morning about the updates on biotech corn, may I introduce Dr. Gabriel O. Romero, Executive Director of the Philippine Seed Industry Association. Dr. Romero is a senior advisor of North Hill Group, and prior to that, he was the senior regulatory and scientific affairs lead of Monsanto Philippines for 10 years. He also served as Gene Bank Manager, Director of Crop Biotechnology Center, and Acting Deputy Executive Director for Research at the Philippine Rice Research Institute, or PhilRice. Among his awards are the Outstanding Young Men, Outstanding Young Scientists from the National Academy of Science and Technology, and Faces of Biotechnology from the Department of Agriculture. Let us all welcome Dr. Romero.
Hi, good morning everyone. Magandang umaga. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can. It's perfect.
Thank you. Thanks, VY, for the kind introduction, and I'd like to thank ISA and Biotech Coalition, Biotech Program Office of the DA for inviting me to give this talk on the status of GM corn in the Philippines. This is actually a milestone in the history of agriculture in the Philippines, and it is my pleasure to share with you this technological revolution that happened 20 years ago, to be exact. So I'm giving some updates later on. But before that, I'd like to give a short introduction on my association. Right now, I'm with the Philippine Seed Industry Association. We are the largest and the oldest seed association in the Philippines. We have the multinational companies and a lot of local seed companies as members, and we are growing. last year or this year, we had 3 new members in our roster. All right, so the the Philippines can be considered a very quick adopter of new technologies. Well, especially in the case of biotechnology. As soon as the as soon as BT corn or Mon 810 event was approved in the US in 1996, efforts to introduce it in the Philippines began in earnest. So medyo kopya agad tayo. And well, the original or Mon 810 was originally developed to fight off the European strain of corn borer. But locally, our corn farmers have been struggling really hard against our local strain of corn borer. It's called Asiatic corn borer. But because they are closely related, they are both lepidopteran pests, it was hypothesized that BT corn in the US may also be very efficacious or effective against our local strain. So it took 6 years, only 6 years after the US approval to have Philippine approval. That's really a feat. And now GM Corn is with us. And as I said, 20 years. I think the approval happened in December 2002. And we will be celebrating its 20th year of approval at the end of the year. But of course, it was not a walk in the park, so to speak. When it comes to getting the approval, it also had to hurdle some regulatory trials, and the assessment took 2 years in the greenhouse, 2 years in the confined test, and another 2 years of multi-location field tests. So the greenhouse test was to check if the BT corn was really good against our local strain of corn borer. And the confined field tests and the multi-location field tests were done to see if friendly and other non-target organisms were affected. That is important because we will be introducing a new variety, a new hybrid that may also affect friendly insects, and we didn't want to do that. But all the evaluations, all the assessments gave positive results, meaning it was efficacious against the local strain and it didn't have any adverse effects on friendly insects and other non-target organisms, of course, including the animals around the cornfields. And with these positive results from the 3 phases of local evaluation, plus the submitted documents on food and feed safety assessments done abroad, the Philippine regulators finally granted approval to BT corn Mon 810. Okay. So 6 years approval timeline for a controversial technology. Of course, it was a little bit controversial. There were some sectors, some quarters opposing the introduction, just like what we experienced lately with also with golden rice. So there were lots of activists hampering the approval process. But 6 years approval timeline was really an amazing feat, and it was made possible by a strong political will of the government. Imagine at that time, people were not quite familiar yet with biotechnology or GM technology, but we had a government at that time that was determined to get the product approved, and we had sound policy, agile companies, and progressive scientists and passionate farmers that coordinated their efforts to get the approval of this BT corn. And we saw the exponential growth of BT corn adoption soon after its approval. You can see starting in 2003 to 2010, there was really a rapid rise of the adoption. And starting in 2011 and up to 2020, we are already nearing the saturation point of BT corn adoption. Well, also including the herbicide tolerant corn in our corn areas. Okay. BT corn is mostly sold as stock with herbicide tolerance. Well, actually, the herbicide tolerant corn was earlier developed in the US, but because our farmers were facing a bigger problem with the corn borer, the BT corn was introduced earlier than the herbicide tolerant corn. So after approval of the BT corn in 2002, 3 years later, the herbicide tolerant or Roundup Ready corn or glyphosate ready corn, like a BT11 or NK603, they BT11 or no, it's not showing here. GT and NK603, the herbicide tolerant events were also approved. And you can see here, okay. So the Philippines became a mega GM country in 2010 already, when it passed the 500,000 hectare mark. So we are among the mega GM country in the world. I think we are either number 10 or number 11 or 12. Now, there are 4 additional BT corn events that were approved in the country. Another one from Monsanto, 2 from Syngenta, and 1 from Pioneer Corteva. And I forgot to show here the herbicide tolerant events, GT and also NK603. They are very much part of the GM technology that our farmers are using. And farmers are happy with GM corn, primarily because of high yield, resistance to pest, and nice clean ears. So some of these farmers were part of the initial resistance against GM corn, but they became supporters because of their experience with GM corn. Nice clean ears, not just resistance to corn borer, but there is less aflatoxin infestation in the ear. And even the academics, so it's not just the farmers, academics have found concrete benefits of GM corn to farm productivity, farmers' income, and the environment. Okay. So you can see here the data, the figures, how the farmers earned more from using GM corn compared to conventional corn. And we have the most recent assessment of GM corn that came out just last year from UP Diliman, the group of Dr. Abi Manalo and Dr. Clarete. They said that the adoption of the technology increased both in farm area and number of farmers. Yeah, we already saw that, but using a different approach, they came up with the same conclusion that farmers are happy with the technology. That's why more and more of them are using the GM technology, and they are uh, they are using the seeds in greater areas. The total productivity grew by 11% due to GM corn. And finally, this is a new insight that came from their study. All income brackets of farmers from high to low brackets benefited from it, because there was a perception that only the more affluent farmers, the ones with the bigger areas, could benefit from the technology. But their study showed that even the smallhold farmers, those that till only 1 hectare, 2 hectares, up to those that till uh, usually 20 or sometimes 30 hectares, all of them gained benefit from this new technology. Right. And we have farmers that have become champions of the technology. You can see here Miss Rosalie Eliasus and engineer Roger Navarro. They themselves are using the technology in their own farms, and they they testify on the improvements in on to their life and the environment that come with the yield benefits. These are our passionate and articulate farmer leaders that vouch for the safety and profitability of using GM corn technology. Okay. Well, this is not all a rosy picture of the GM technology here in the Philippines. Although we have seen uh, greater productivity, more and more farmers improving their lives, getting bigger income from using biotech corn. But there's a not really a recent development, because we have seen this the past maybe 5 or 7 years. Uh, this technology of GM corn is under threat from unauthorized sale of GM seeds. Uh, it's well, in short, it's called piracy. Piracy. Just like in many of new technologies, merong kopya-kopya, no? Parang gaya-gaya, or uh, unbranded or generic. Some companies have bred the biotech traits into their hybrids and sell them without the required stewardship measures. And this is worrisome because this may lead to failure of the biotech traits. So this is one problem that the industry is facing, and we hope that the government will be able to work together with the industry to avoid or prevent the escalation of this threat, because if the technology fails, we will soon come back to uh, conventional farming of corn that will require lots of use of pesticides, because BT corn does not use any more pesticide against corn borer, but if it fails, then we will go back to that old practice. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Gabby. Just a reminder for our almost 300 viewers in Zoom who have questions about the biotech corn, please don't forget to post them using the Q&A function. And to those who are watching in YouTube and our Facebook pages, please leave your questions in the comment section, and we will raise the questions later during the open forum. Now, for our second presentation this morning, it will be about the latest events and activities of the Golden Rice. This will be presented by Dr. Ronan Zagado, Program Leader for Golden Rice. Dr. Zagado is affiliated with the Philippine Rice Research Institute, where he is a Chief Science Research Specialist. He is also the former head of the PhilRice Development Communication Division. His background and training are in science communication, campaign and advocacy, stakeholder engagement, risk communication, agricultural extension, communication research, and program management. Let's give a round of applause for Dr. Zagado. Sir, you may proceed.
Okay, good morning. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet, sir.
Hold on. Yep. Okay, again,
Yes.
very much WeY for the kind introduction, and thank you very much, Isa, for organizing this webinar, and of course, thanks for inviting me. Yes, I think we are all aware that golden rice has been around for quite some time. I think our estimate is that golden rice was in development for 20 years. But we are very excited to share with you that after many years of research, development, and regulatory assessment, we are now working on its deployment. So for my presentation this morning, I will share some basic information about golden rice, focusing on frequently asked questions about the product, its potential nutritional benefits, deployment plans, and the status, where we are now. I will begin my presentation with this short video about what golden rice is in a nutshell. Let's watch this.
Golden rice is the first of its kind, a variety of rice purposefully developed through genetic engineering, offering improved nutrition in the form of beta-carotene. This is an important source of vitamin A, which supports a healthy immune system. Ordinary rice does not contain beta-carotene. In countries where people depend on rice for nourishment, golden rice can help reduce vitamin A deficiency. In the 1990s, when the idea behind golden rice was conceived by Ingo Petroikas and Peter Bayer, nutrient deficiencies were a widespread problem in several parts of the world. Unfortunately, food and nutrition insecurity are still on the rise. Vitamin A deficiency can cause health problems, such as an impaired immune system and stunted growth. It can also cause problems with eyesight. In the Philippines, there's a continuing need to ensure all children have the nutrients they need. As rice is an important part of the diet in these regions, this is where golden rice and its beta-carotene content has an important role to play. The path that led to the development of golden rice began in the 1990s. However, good science takes time. The researchers had to ensure it met strict biosafety standards at every stage of the development process. Overall, it can take a few decades to create and develop a new variety of rice. For the rice itself, the journey from idea to reality began in the laboratory. Plants were carefully studied in a protected greenhouse or screenhouse before moving on to field trials. Throughout the development journey, the team behind golden rice have been committed to both transparency and the highest scientific standards. As part of this, the researchers addressed 5 important questions to farmers and consumers. First, they asked, will golden rice be nutritious enough? The golden rice researchers investigated different genes until they identified one that sufficiently boosts the beta-carotene content of rice. Next, the team asked, will golden rice be safe to eat? Extensive research has shown that it is as safe as ordinary rice. It's received various safety approvals, demonstrating that regulatory agencies agree with the research findings. Third, will golden rice be affordable? The golden rice trait has been incorporated into affordable and popular rice varieties in each country. This means farmers won't need to change their farming methods, and consumers won't need to change their food preferences. The fourth and arguably most important question is, will golden rice be available to those who need it most? ERE partners in the Philippines and Bangladesh will ensure that it's released first in the communities most in need. And the final 5th question, who benefits from golden rice? The answer to this question is simple. The inventors have donated the patent for humanitarian purposes. In each country, golden rice will be managed by national research partners. Ultimately, communities who plant and eat golden rice will benefit from improved nutrition, health, and quality of life. The journey of golden rice has been a relay, with different stakeholders taking the lead at each of the key stages, passing the baton on to the next in line. It's become an international collaboration of researchers and other experts, working towards improved health and nutrition through biofortification. The goal of bringing golden rice to farmers' fields and on to consumers' tables is within reach.
Okay, well, golden rice is basically pretty much the same as ordinary rice, or it is like an ordinary rice, but improved with beta carotene, a source of vitamin A, and gives the grain its golden color. And it has been developed through genetic engineering, and we intend to introgress the golden rice trait into popular and high-yielding varieties. And one of the most common questions that we receive is if golden rice is safe. And the answer is yes. Golden rice had already undergone rigorous biosafety regulations in 4 regulatory agencies, including the Health Canada, Food Standards in Australia and New Zealand, US FDA, and in the Philippines, it was the DA-DPI who assessed golden rice. But of course, upon the recommendations of the 5 regulatory bodies, the Department of Agriculture, Department of Health, Department of Natural DNR, and Department of, the other one is Department of DILG. Okay, and all these regulators concluded that golden rice is as safe as ordinary rice, but with the added benefit of beta-carotene in its grain. So this slide shows that 1 cup of cooked golden rice can provide 30 to 50% of the estimated average requirement of vitamin A for preschoolers, and 2 cups for adults, particularly pregnant and lactating women. And this finding has been confirmed by the study done by the DOST Food and Nutrition Research Institute and IRI in 2021. And this chart shows the potential contribution of golden rice in the vulnerable age groups, which are the children and lactating women. And as you can see in the chart, it is clearly stated that golden rice can provide, say, 32.1% for children, and then for pregnant women, 39.7%, and for lactating women, 47.7%. So to simplify and just for us to appreciate the impact of golden rice in terms of its nutritional benefits, the beta-carotene content of 1 cup of golden rice is equivalent to the beta-carotene content of 12 cups of kangkong or water spinach. And this only shows that golden rice this only shows how much golden rice can contribute to the diets of children, especially if the kids are not consuming or are not eating fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. So how can golden rice help? No? Golden rice can provide an additional source of vitamin A in the diet of the Filipinos, and with daily intake, it can be a sustainable source of vitamin A. Hence, we are promoting this as a complementary intervention to help address vitamin A deficiency. Okay. So here it shows this is actually a result of the National Nutrition Survey. And what this figure tells us is that our diet typically lacks vitamin A. Based on the study, only 2 out of 10 households have adequate vitamin A intake. And we all know that Vitamin A is something that our body doesn't produce. No, we have to consume it from the food we eat. And in the Philippines, we eat a lot of rice. Now, rice is an integral part of our diet in terms of budget allocation and consumptions per capita. And it is a top source of energy, but it lacks micronutrient. But with golden rice, it is being made healthier. VAD or vitamin A deficiency and other forms of micronutrient deficiencies continue to be a significant public health problem in our country. And if not addressed properly, this condition can lead to reduced immunity, reduced cognitive development, and poor eyesight. And it affects poor households, and on a micro level, it impacts productivity and quality of life. So in this slide, the graph shows that the goal is to end all forms of malnutrition in the Philippines by 2030. And as you can observe, although the trend shows that there is a change in the status of nutrition from 2008 to 2019, there is still a VAD prevalence of 15.5% nationwide. And this is composed of the age groups at risk of VAD, which are the 6 months to 5 years old, and pregnant and lactating women. And they are mostly found in urban areas and poor households. There are already successful nutrition intervention addressing vitamin A deficiency and other forms of malnutrition, such as food fortification, vitamin A supplementation, promotion of balanced diets, and breastfeeding. However, apparently vulnerable groups are still being missed. And this is where golden rice can help, as it will be an additional tool in the basket of intervention. So golden rice is being positioned as a complementary solutions to existing VAD intervention. The other frequently asked questions is, how is golden rice different from an ordinary rice? So golden rice is not different from any other ordinary rice, especially from its background variety. So they have different agromorphological characteristics, and the only difference really is its beta-carotene content, which makes the product unique. So which means that it doesn't it costs the same in terms of cost production, and it is not expected to require any changes in farm management or cultivation practices. And since it is an inbred variety, golden rice seeds can be saved for the next planting season. So how does it taste like? Now, beta-carotene does not affect the taste, aroma, and textures of rice, which means that golden rice tastes the same as ordinary rice. So I think this is also one of the questions being asked to us these days. And as you know, we only got the permit, the final biosafety permit last year, July of last year. And that was when we started multiplying the seeds. And if you are familiar with rice, it's not as easy to produce massive or sufficient supply of seeds for commercial planting. So it will require us maybe 4 to 5 cropping seasons. So we have already started the seed multiplications. However, we have, as per directive from the Department of Agriculture, we endeavored to have an initial deployment or cultivation of golden rice this year's wet season. So later I will report to you our production areas. But the plan is we will increase the deployment sites as soon as more supplies of seeds becomes available. Yeah, the goal is to position golden rice, as I mentioned earlier, as an intervention to help achieve food and nutrition security. And again, as based on the prevalence data of VAD, which I mentioned earlier, which is around 15.5% or around 2 million of Filipinos at risk of vitamin A deficiency, the aspiration is to produce the rice requirement of this target population, which would constitute 10% of the total production in the Philippines. And our estimate is it will take us 5 years to complete or to completely deliver the rice requirement. And this means that we may be needing to grow golden rice in 500,000 hectares. And that would require us 20 million kilogram of seeds. And we know that this is quite a huge target, but we will work on the realistic figures soon. And aside from the production requirement, the project also aimed to do social marketing to raise awareness on the benefits of golden rice, as well as policy advocacy to gain acceptance and support, especially from the local government units. And based on the impact that we want to create, this slide shows our multi-year deployment timeline or our targets on a yearly basis. Like in 2022, we have a total seed production area of 24.4 hectares. And for the palay or commercial production, we have a total of 15.4 hectares. I will discuss this in detail later. So the plan is we will increase our target as we move forward until in 2027. That's when we hope to achieve the 100% requirement for our target populations. Yep. So this is our deployment framework. Now, of course, it's going to be composed of three important elements. First is supply, second is demand, and then third is governance. The supply component ensures that there's going to be a steady supply of seeds and milled rice, and the demand aims to create demand, to increase knowledge, acceptability, and consumption. And the third component, the governance, like any other development programs, this is to ensure that we have an enabling environment for the smooth and successful deployment of golden rice. And we are being guided by these principles. Again, we will be promoting golden rice for humanitarian purposes. That is to help address vitamin A deficiency. And we are being scientific and transparent. All the information you want to know about golden rice are all publicly available on the website. And we believe that for the successful deployment of golden rice, we need a partnership. And we believe that it's going to be a shared responsibility with the national and local agencies and organizations. And that's what we're actually working on right now, doing all this stakeholder outreach, because we believe that we cannot do it alone. It has to be in partnership with with the local government units. And we want golden rice to be integrated into the existing agri and nutrition programs. And especially that we have a limited supply of seeds at the moment, we prioritize LGUs and populations at risk of vitamin A deficiency. So we plan to roll out golden rice using two pathways. The first one is the program-based approach. So in here, we will tap existing government agri and nutrition programs. So we will be working with different departments whom we believe are into this kind of work. So this will really require a lot of partnership and policy advocacy. So we have started speaking with, for example, Department of Education for the possibility to integrate golden rice into their feeding program. And we understand that the local government units have also their programs, like we speak with one of the municipal LGUs in Ilocos Norte. They have this first 1,000 days program, and they've been eyeing golden rice to be a potential intervention. And of course, the second approach would be the market-driven approach. So eventually, when we have enough supply of golden rice will enter into the existing market of rice. But of course, it has its unique characteristic. It's a yellow one. So we just really need to make sure that this will be positioned strategically and effectively in the market. So we will be doing a value chain analysis to determine elements that will really make golden rice positioned effectively in the market. And we will have to be working closely with other industry players to make sure that it will really be strategically positioned in the market. And aside from that, we'll be doing consumer acceptability, marketing and promotion, as well as product and recipe development. So golden rice is now being cultivated in 10 regions, 17 provinces, 29 municipalities, in partnership with the regional department, the RFOs, their regional experiment centers. And we have also worked with 19 seed growers and 14 farmer cooperators. So we have a total of 38.45 hectares and 23.1 hectares of which is for seed production, and the 15.35 hectares is for commercial production. So the crops are now in their reproductive stage. And in fact, we have already started the harvesting, and the harvesting will last until the third week of November. So we had our first harvest of golden rice 3 weeks ago in Maguindanao. Our farmer cooperator there harvested 7.8 tons per hectare at 11.8% MC. Okay, I think this is the last slides of my presentation. Just to let you know, if you want more information about golden rice, we have these frequently asked questions that basically answer all your questions about golden rice. So they are readily available on our website, both from Erie and Phil Rice. And this is my last slide, just to summarize. So again, we have already, we got all the biosafety regulatory approvals, saying that golden rice is as safe as ordinary rice with the added benefit of beta-carotene in the grains. And we aim to position golden rice to complement existing nutrition interventions to improve the diets of the Filipinos. And with regards to our deployment, as I mentioned earlier, we will do it in a nuanced way, which means that we will increase our deployment sites as soon as we have more supplies of seeds and grains. So thank you very much. I have here the QR code. You can have access to our IEC materials if you want to know more about golden rice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zagado. There was one question we have one participant who was asking about how to avail a copy of the video. So please go to the website of Golden Rice. You just scan the QR code that Dr. Zagado posted. Okay, so now we have plenty of questions coming in, and we will now start with our open forum. Let's start with this question directed to Dr. Romero about the pressing issue of ukay seeds. The question is from one of our seasoned regulators, Ms. Merly Palakpak. Dr. Romero, are there possible measures from the industry or government to address ukay seeds proliferation? Do you think deregulation of the event will be able to address the issue?
Thanks for that difficult question, Ma'am Merly. But we have to address that because that's a big problem of the industry right now. So the BPI, together with, well, it's now DA, BPI or DA already adopted the position of BPI, because BPI is or submitted through a congressman a revised seed act. The revised seed act now, or the proposed revised seed act, has some provisions to penalize violations of licensing or ownership of GM traits. So there are no penalties that will be imposed for those who are we call it misappropriation. They are trying to sell GM traits without the proper authorization or licensing from technology owners. Because right now, BPI cannot do anything. Just remind the infringing companies to get the license or license from the technology owners. But other than that, they cannot penalize them. But already, some of these companies cannot join the government procurement program. There are some specifications in the procurement program that already excludes yung mga unauthorized or yung ukay-ukay seeds. And with regards to the regulation, yeah, I think that's one way of addressing the problem. It will also allow access to technology by some companies, no, even without necessarily getting the licensing. But probably the timing when the regulation will be implemented for or applied for a specific trait, there should be a balance, no, so that it's like in regular patenting. A lot of new inventions go off patent after the original patent holder already has sufficiently recoup the investments, because that's the idea of patenting. Also, in the case of GM traits, own or companies or developers need also to gain something from their new seeds, new biotech seeds, so that they can reinvest their earnings to new discoveries. So that means incentivizing inventions. So the regulation is a possible path. We just need to craft a balance scheme to implement the regulation. But I think coming from the industry, one thing that has worked in a way to address this issue is licensing of local companies. I know of one company that has received the licensing from the owner company, and I think they are doing pretty well. So this licensing needs to be developed further. I don't know whether the government can also help, because sometimes local companies find the licensing fees a little steep. But licensing is really a good way of broadening access to new technologies, and at the same time helping local companies to improve their standards, because multinational companies do require some conditions for licensing to take place in terms of facilities, practices, internal practices of the local company. So that also helps in raising the standards of licensed companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Gabby. Thank you for addressing that pressing issue. We have another question addressed to you from one of our media personalities in the audience, Miss Meli Tenorio. We know that BT corn technology is a success, but there are still farmers who don't use it. They can hardly afford the seeds. How can we solve this problem so that all farmers can enjoy the good produce of BT corn?
Hi, Meli. Thanks for the question. That question is also related to the ukay-ukay. One reason the ukay-ukay or illegal seeds are thriving is because of their lower price. No? But in many cases, our farmers get shortchanged with the ukay-ukay seeds. So many of our farmers use the ukay-ukay seeds, the cheaper ukay-ukay seeds, especially when they come from a bad season. If there's a calamity, they didn't harvest a lot, or they had a crop failure, so they don't have enough money to spend for quality seeds. Then that's the time kumbaga, they find the cheaper okay seeds, their only resort. That's why this is related. So if we can improve on the licensing system, or as mentioned by Ma'am Merly, the regulation, this will be ways to lower the price. And of course, the more players in the market, the more the more choices our farmers have, and there can be a price war. So companies may lower their prices, local companies, even multinational companies, and that will be to the benefit of our smallhold farmers.
Thank you, Dr. Romero. Now, since we're at the topic of farmers, I have a question for Dr. Zagado. The benefits of golden rice for consumers are many, but what would be the benefits for rice farmers? Are there concerns that farmers have with golden rice, and how will these concerns be resolved?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that questions. As I mentioned earlier, we will transfer or we will introduce the golden rice trait into popular high-yielding varieties that our farmers are already growing. So which means these are popular varieties. So in terms of the benefit, they will be getting the same benefit in terms of increase in yield. And yeah, I think for farmer they're only after of yield increase. But aside from the yield increase that they will be getting, they will have extra additional benefit, which is the beta carotene content.
Thank you, sir. Now, this is still about the golden rice, and I'm sure a lot of our participants will be interested in the answer to this question. Is golden rice good for diabetic people, or the benefits is specific only to micronutrient deficiency problems?
Well, it depends on the background variety where the golden rice has been transferred. So again, I cannot really tell. We have to check the amylose content of that variety, the background variety. But yes, definitely, what I can only tell you is that in terms of the beta carotene content, but with regards to the whether it is good for diabetic, it really depends on the background variety. So at the moment, the first variety of golden rice is in the background of PSBRC82. So we may just have to check the amylose content of PSBRC82. So definitely it still has sugar in it.
Thank you, Dr. Zagado. Now, going back to the biotech corn, we have one question here, and it says, some sell their harvested and milled rice mixed with corn. How does combining GM corn and naturally grown rice affect the taste and nutritional value of this product? Now, I'm not sure if we can directly answer this question, but maybe any of our resource speakers can try.
Oh, okay. Well, to start with, GM corn is also good for human consumption as food. Although most of our uses locally are for feeds, but our regulatory system provides the safety for food and feed and for processing. In other countries, in the US especially, they have GM sweet corn. But I'm excited to have GM sweet corn also here in the Philippines because our sweet corn locally still gets a lot of pesticide application actually on the cob, but that's why we need to really wash our sweet corn cobs before we cook and eat. So I think I don't know if the question is about the taste, but as to safety, GM corn mixed with rice or even with golden rice will really be healthy. But the benefit of corn, eating mixed with rice is already there in golden rice. Golden rice already contains the corn genes that make it yellow. So you don't need to mix. But if you want to have more nutrition, there's no harm. There's no harm. So even though our GM corn is largely used for feeds, it is perfectly safe for human consumption.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have another question for Dr. Romero. What do you think was the impact of the biotech ban that happened last 2015 on biotech corn farmers? Did they suffer productivity loss until the ban was lifted? How can we avoid another biotech ban from happening in the Philippines? Sir?
Yeah. Well, the ban almost cost my job. When I, just kidding. Well, the ban uh, did not really affect the availability of corn seeds because many companies already have local stock of GM seeds. I, I think Monsanto was, I think the was hit the biggest at that time because that time I was still with Monsanto at that time. We were supposed to renew the biosafety permit of one of their events, but that was put on hold because of the ban. But other companies already have existing seed stocks, and even Monsanto at that time had a modest stock that can be sold to the farmers locally. The impact would have been on the importation of incoming seeds because at that time the biosafety the biosafety permit of the genes containing that event uh, has not been renewed, so incoming seeds cannot be released at the ports. So, but the industry and BPI, I think they work together to ensure that the availability of seeds for our farmers won't be affected that much. So I, I think the biggest impact of that ban was on research, local research.
Yes, I agree, Sir Gabby. And Dr. Zagado, did the ban affect the activities of the Golden Rice Project as well?
Sorry, what I wasn't sure
Oh,
about the ban that you are
the
referring
biotech
to.
ban from 2015, did it directly or indirectly affect the activities
Yes,
of your
definitely,
program?
definitely it affected, you know. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, we're actually hoping that golden rice will be approved as soon as possible, but it was affected by that time. And as you may know, I think the golden rice was the first product to have been assessed under the Joint Department Circular in 2016. So, and that really facilitated the approval of the biosafety applications of golden rice.
Thank you. So still in relation to the golden rice, do you encounter farmers or people who are still hesitant to try golden rice? If so, what can you do in order to have them accept GM crops?
Yes, definitely. I think it is basically lack of information about the benefits and safety of golden rice. That was the main reason. So all we need to do is we just have to intensify our campaigns to raise awareness about the benefits, and that's what we have been doing lately. Now we've done extensive work on information campaign and even stakeholder engagement. Now, our strategy this time is really more targeted. We plan stakeholder outreach, especially initially in areas where we intend to initially deploy golden rice. So we avoid doing mass media type of information campaign. What we've done is really, go to the places where we intend to initially deploy golden rice, and it really helps. It's really just a matter of communication and education to make them aware or convinced about the product.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I agree that your group has been doing a very good job in the extension and communication activities. Now, there's a very interesting question here. In 2017, Adrian Duboc of the Golden Rice Humanitarian Board published an article in the journal Agriculture and Food Security. He gave 4 steps for the adoption of golden rice. One of the steps is the measurement of GR impact by tracking the dietary records of the consumers. Will this be done and how? Who will be responsible for this task?
Yes, it will be done. There's going to be an independent or third-party organization who will do the nutritional study. So it's a bioefficacy study, and the study aims to determine how much reduction can be achieved through golden rice, or how much reduction of the vitamin A deficiency. So that organization is already doing the work, and we hope to receive the results soon. And please
Thank
know
you.
that we cannot do that nutritional study until we had the biosafety permit. So as you know, we only got the biosafety permit last year, so we just commenced that study. But again, it is being done by an independent organization.
Okay, we understand, sir. And for you again, in complement with golden rice, is there a positive prospect or progress in developing high iron rice taken by the institution for the near future?
Yes, that is currently in the development stage. We just submitted our applications for the field trial. So after we have receive the biosafety for field trial, and then we will apply for the commercial propagation. And we intend to actually combine high iron rice and zinc with golden rice. So hopefully we can have a 3-in-1 rice later.
That's very good news. And I'm sure Dr. Romero is also interested in that, as he's also a rice breeder. We still have a lot of questions coming in. And this is about the exporting or importing. Now, maybe our resource speakers will be able to have their take on this. So what documents do you think are required for exporting or importing to claim as GM crops for the ASEAN level or international trade? Do you have any opinions on that?
I think for golden rice, it is important that the country where, for example, golden rice will be exported has the biosafety approval. So I think it's very critical, because as of the moment, it is only the Philippines that has the biosafety permit. So we don't encourage exporting golden rice. And after all, it's really designed for local consumption at the moment. As per our agreement with the inventors, under the humanitarian license, it's really for local consumptions, and it was bred with local varieties, really intended for local consumption in the Philippines to help address vitamin A deficiency.
And Sir Gabby, in the experience of Biotech corn, do you have anything to share?
Well, the biotech seeds have been mostly entering the Philippines from other countries, and companies and our regulators, especially the PQS, the Plant Quarantine Services of BPI, they already have an online system. So this is, I think, running pretty well already for years. But in general, the seed movement, seed movement is still still improving. I mean, there are new initiatives to improve the seed movement around the globe. I don't know if you've heard about the electronic phytosanitary permit. So we are using, the government is already pushing hard to adopt the electronic phyto certificate system. So, but this is in general on seed movement. But of course, the concern is we do not want seeds coming in to be infected with the diseases that might ruin our local farms here in the Philippines. But it's not particular to GM or GM corn, but they also have additional boxes to tick if the materials that are coming in and out are biotech. But these are all already covered in the present system.
Yes, thank you, Sir Gabby. Okay, we have one question about the GM corn here, and this is just to set the record straight. Our participant says, I'm interested on the effect of GM corn on human consumption. Was there any controversy about this, Sir Gabby?
Oh, yes, especially at the start. I think I want to connect it to the other questions that I read about the initial concerns about BT corn. Well, there are two general concerns that I can speak of. The one is on uh, the cry protein or the toxin that is present in BT corn. So that's related to the safety question now. And the other is the other concern that I think is more valid is on resistance development. Why? Well, okay. But let me go first to the question on the toxicity um, coming from the toxin or cry protein of Bacillus thuringiensis. That was really a surprise because 50 years prior, a lot of farmers worldwide are already using BT spores or BT spores for organic farming. Okay. And BT spores or Bacillus thuringiensis spores are used there because they do not really affect humans, animals. They only affect the insects. That's in organic farming. So what biotechnologies just did was just to introduce the gene to the plant. But it was really a surprise why there was opposition, hard opposition against the BT protein that the plant makes systematically or in its own system or constitutively. So that's not really a valid question. But well, the science there is the BT crystals or the toxin crystals are are only active in basic uh, basic intestines or the gut. So our intestines, human intestines, are very much acidic. So they will not really be functional. It will not uh, damage our intestines, just like it does the gut of the insects. So chemically or physiologically, humans and animals are protected against the cry proteins from the BT, from Bacillus thuringiensis. So it is perfectly safe. I used to say you should be afraid to eat BT corn or BT crops only if you think you are related to the insect, to the lepidopteran insects. But we are very, very much distantly related to the insects. Even their closely related insects are not affected by the BT protein, much less us humans or animals. So that is perfectly safe. Now, the other issue, that the other, I think, more valid concern at that time was the resistance development. If BT corn is planted widely, then that gives a very strong pressure for the pests to evolve, or it's not actually evolve or mutate, but the resistant alleles or the resistance genes to emerge. Yung the corn borer resistance genes to emerge in the population or to become more dominant. But now there is a way to prevent that from happening. And it's more on stewardship or the use of refuge. And our technology developers also imposed by BPI or by BA, seeds should come with refuge or non-BT seeds. So to prevent the resistance from happening. So so that the technology will continue to be effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Gabby. Now, there was one question that came in that Dr. Zagado already answered in the Q&A function, but I would like to raise it again for everyone to understand more about it. So, Dr. Zagado, does golden rice grow in an organic way of farming?
Yes, as I've said, it is pretty much the same as an ordinary rice varieties, which means that it can also be grown the organic way. But we just have to understand that under the Organic Republic Act, the organic law, no, there is a mention there that you cannot, what do you call this? You cannot label your farm to be organic if you've grown a genetically modified organism. So that's the only thing. But as you can actually grow golden rice the organic way. It's just that we have that provisions in the organic law that sort of prohibits golden rice to be grown in an organic farm. But I think that has something to be resolved, actually, to be honest, because golden rice should be treated as same as an ordinary rice.
Thank you, sir. Now, I still see a lot of questions coming in, but unfortunately, we don't have much time anymore this morning. And so I would like to take this opportunity to ask our resource speakers to give their short key messages that they would like to leave for the audience. Let us start with Dr. Zagado.
Yeah, okay. After golden rice has been granted a biosafety approval for commercial propagation, so we have received a lot of queries with regards to the availability of seeds and even milled rice. So we just need to temper that expectations. And please understand that we are still in the process of multiplying the seeds. But our goal is to really bring golden rice, especially to those who need it the most. So just be patient. So we're still deploying it in selected areas at the moment. But as soon as we have more seeds, we will increase our deployment sites, and we're looking forward for everyone to have access to golden rice soon.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Romero, sir?
I just would like to congratulate the Philippines in general, well, especially the Department of Agriculture for allowing the entry of biotech products in the Philippines. Well, in my topic, or GM corn, the Philippines has been a model for the kind of policy we have. So science-based for the consumers among us, trust that the regulatory process that we have in place is science-based, and it's not only the science but also our experience. We already have more than 20 years of experience locally, or almost 20 years, but globally, the reality about GM crops is that they are really safe. They had to undergo very rigorous assessments because of some concerns, but through time, science and the experience, our own experience with these products, attest to their safety. So continue to enjoy the products of biotechnology. There will be more soon coming, and I hope the younger people among us will be part of the next revolution of biotechnology. Gene editing is coming, so they will be part. They can be part of the research or regulation, but all of us will continue to be consumers of outstanding products from biotechnology.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zagado and Dr. Romero, for taking the time to share your thoughts and lessons learned with our audience this morning. And to our participants, I would like all of you to please turn your attention to the chat box where you will find a link. So please answer our post-webinar evaluation form. And once you have submitted your responses, your certificate of participation to this webinar will automatically be sent to your inbox. And now to formally close our webinar, I would like to introduce Dr. Rodora Romero Aldemita, Executive Director of ISA Inc. and the Director of the Global Knowledge Center on Crop Biotechnology. She is a member of the Technical Advisory Team of the Applied Biotechnology Committee of the DABPO, a board member of the Biotech Coalition of the Philippines, the Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Journal of Crop Science, and a scientific reviewer of 6 scientific journals. Prior to joining ISA Inc., then Southeast Asia Center, she was the Chief Science Research Specialist and the Biotechnology Coordinator at the Philippine Rice Research Institute, where she also worked on developing the golden rice. She was also a former researcher at the International Rice Research Institute. Ma'am Ola, you may now give your remarks.
Thank you so much, Wiwai, for that very, is that me? Okay. Kidding aside, I'm really overwhelmed with the number of people who have participated in this webinar. We were expecting 400, but 326 is not bad. It's beyond our expectations, and we're happy that people are still interested with the GM corn and golden rice, and we know the enthusiasm because of the questions that we received. So with that, we thank you, our panelists, Dr. Romero and Dr. Zagado, for giving us your time in explaining the biotech crops, the Pinoy biotech crops we are commercializing and going to be commercialized. As what Wiwai said, I was a part of the Golden Rice Project. It's also very close to my heart, as well as GM Corn, because ISA has been there since the beginning. I was a member of the technical group who approved the field testing of GM Corn way back. And now it's having a lot of commercialization potentials. And we know that Dr. Gabi has shown the increasing trends in planting, and we also follow that, and golden rice as well. So we saw how our farmers, consumers, and the general public are very responsive responsive to new technologies. Dr. Romero said that as soon as GM corn was out in the market, our scientists started working on the regulatory system, but that would allow the Philippines to have it come to our shores. Same way with golden rice, when it was developed, and during the first generation of golden rice, Phil Rice already was working on it. And I think it was in the year 2000. That was why I was able to go and do my postdoc at Albert Ludwig's University with our co-inventor, Peter Bayer. So the enthusiasm of our general public, our scientists, and the regulators, of course, putting together the policies that the government has instituted so that every one of us will benefit from the technology. And we're proud that ISA, on behalf of ISA, that ISA was there from the beginning. Now, I would like to thank again our participants, and we hope that we can have your webinar evaluation form with us so that we can see how we fare and how we can improve for our next webinar. So with that, I'd like to thank you all, and let's go back to Wiwai. Thanks, Wiwai.
Thank you for your motivating message, Ma'am Ola. And thank you for everyone for being with us today. Now, our post-webinar evaluation form will be accepting responses probably until tomorrow morning. So please fill them out as soon as you can. And also, please don't forget to join us in the second webinar That is on November 3 at 10 in the morning. And we'd like to kindly inform all of you that there were changes in the second webinar. The next session will cover the research and development of Pinoy biotech products. And our presenters will be Dr. Edison Rinien from PhilFida, who will tackle BT Cotton, and Dr. Abraham Manalo from the National College of Public Administration and Governance in UP Diliman. He will discuss the other Pinoy biotech products in the pipeline. And so we'll see you in our second webinar. Please don't forget, it's on November 3. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again. Goodbye.
Congratulations, team. Good job, Wiwai. Woo!
Thank you po.
Okay, we'll just wait for the others.